Broadcasting from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia to around the globe. You're listening to Bite Biz, your exclusive place for business strategy, sales, marketing, and tech in the roaring 20s. And now, here's your host, David Strausser.
Back from the holidays, I'm your superstar host, David Strausser, and it's time to kick off another epic season. Season 2 of the small business podcast, Bite Biz, your place to learn how to grow a business during a global pandemic. With 2021 in full swing, companies are probably trying to figure a way to stabilize from 2020. The pandemic seems like it is going to be at minimal here for a little bit longer, so Biz Dev is probably a huge concern for your company. Regardless of how things pan out, though, with the virus, digital transformation for the sales and client acquisition is here to stay in some form or another. Today's guest is going to have a great discussion with us about biz dev and sales in general during the roaring 20s. We'll be talking about how to sell online, selling differences during COVID, and selling remotely versus selling or meeting someone in person. A lot has changed over the past year. We'll also dig into how your ideal customer is online and how to reach them. And I think one of the most important topics, in fact, we've had a whole episode on this already with Cynthia Jai last season, but how to achieve sales digitally with confidence and tonality. So which guest is going to kick off season 2 for us? None other than Branson Vanlandingham, founder and CEO of VanTech. In this on-demand economy, Branson is committed to finding and forming unorthodox approaches to sales, online marketing, and technology development. Through VanTech and the ABC sales team at VanTech, Branson helps businesses all over the world grow and increase sales from implementing a combination of tech, marketing, and sales resources. Branson has the pleasure of working with over 50 companies from 6 out of the 7 continents. Unfortunately, we're missing Antarctica, but we're going to get it done with him after this podcast airs. So, without further delay, let's get season 2 kicked off right now and bring Branson on in here.
Make the sale.
Welcome to Bite Biz. So glad to have you here today, man.
Absolutely, David. Thank you so much for having me. Excited to hop on and get to it.
Oh yeah, we're gonna rock out and have some fun right now. So, very first question. It's a tradition here on the show. I know you've watched a couple episodes. It's a real softball for you, man. Okay, what's your experience? What's your background? And what the heck makes Branson Branson?
Absolutely. Well, man, that may be a dangerous question. I guess kind of start at the beginning and kind of roll to kind of where we're at here at the end of the year. So for me personally, grew up in Central Arkansas, so did quite a bit. You know, most people, I'm fortunate in business to speak to a lot of people all over the world, so I always have to kind of get my Arkansas pitch out. We're not all barefoot hillbillies running around, out in the country type stuff. Walmart, the largest corporation in the world, was founded here, and that's actually where I live now, is northwestern Arkansas, where Walmart has their world headquarters. But grew up, very traditionally, in the South. Spent a lot of time outdoors, playing a lot of sports from a very young age. My parents instilled kind of a business and a, unlimited mindset with us. They really, focused on me and my sister, and
so with
said, hey,
with that business mindset, I mean, did they own businesses as well too,
Sure.
or no?
Absolutely. So my parents were kind of unique in the fact that they both worked traditional jobs and were kind of entrepreneurs in that respect. And they also had side businesses where they were entrepreneurs on their own. My mom, was very big in Mary Kay Cosmetics very early on. She actually, had a car and did several things. Got to meet Mary Kay. I don't know if your viewers are familiar with who she is, but very kind of like the limelight before Limelight was around. And then my dad did a lot of stuff in technology and IT as that wave was coming through, installing products, hardware, software, really helping people, get things set up. So I got to see both sides. I got to see kind of the W-2 kind of mindset, and then also got to see an entrepreneur mindset and kind of really bringing that into my mindset and framework was very, very valuable for us. But, they encouraged us that, yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. Couldn't have done it without my parents. They're wonderful, wonderful people. I'm very, very thankful. I hit the parent lottery, as I like to say. But from there, they encouraged us to have businesses, did kind of the traditional stuff, mowed lawns, hung Christmas lights, did a variety of things, on my own as well. And, I was very fortunate being 25 to kind of be on that cusp of, really social media coming into fruition as far as business focus. So when I was young, it was kind of all the kind of personal stuff. And then as they started to monetize their platforms like Facebook and other platforms specifically, I was able to launch some Facebook pages and get business. I remember picking up, being 12 and picking up yards in my community through there, advertising online, very, 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 very beginning and organic. But got to do it.
That's interesting because when I was 25, Facebook, I mean, I guess it was MySpace and Facebook then, but it was kind of like, how do you get business around it? It was so new that there was a lot of unknowns and confusion as far as the do's and don'ts with social media. But now you have the generation below me, which you're part of. I'm only 37, so we're 12 years apart.
Not too far apart there. Yeah.
Yeah. 12 years apart, but the generation below me, the people that are, in the 25-ish range, I mean, they grew up with a much more mature social media platform than I did when it was brand new and innovating and, what's this face thingy, and or this MySpace. Yeah. What is this, So it's matured a lot. And I think, I look at it with my kids too, that has really impacted because my 3-year-old knows how to use like a cell phone and post things, you know.
They're on the iPad, they're on YouTube, and it's very incredible. And to your point, David, I got to ride that wave, thankfully. I mean, kind of some of my first businesses centered around the online game was very fortunate to know a lot of people in and outside of the community. And you were talking about, a lot of people were trying to figure it out. So I got to come along and say, hey, I'm a young, tech savvy kid, would you love to pay me a little bit each month? And I'll, run your Facebook page. We'll post content. We'll do a few different things. That was kind of awesome. So that's kind of how I got started in the tech and digital marketing world. And thankfully, like you were, we were just having the conversation about, was able to kind of play off that with people who were either too busy or a combination of being too busy running a business. And also like, what the heck is this thing online? Is it just people posting, what they're doing and what they're up to and chit chatting and instant messaging type stuff? Or is it something greater? And we got to really evolve with that. I got to, try, fail, learn, grow, and not only have that experience personally, but really get to help out folks, via business and really kind of tap into that as that wave, that tidal wave, as it is now, as it kind of got started.
Yeah, no, that's great. So what does your company, because I mean, I find it interesting. You're 25, but you're obviously a proven entrepreneur that you're the CEO of VanTech with your ABC sales team. I mean, why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Because I think it's going to inspire a lot of other people, whether it's other 20-year-olds, people in their 20s like you, or whether it's, 40 or 50-year-old person out there that's like, crap, man, if this Branson guy at 25 can do this, I could do this. It inspires them to go out there and actually start their own thing. Tell us a little bit about what you do and how that started.
Sure. Well, first off, if I can do it, anybody can do it, right? So kind of looking at my past, it was a little unique in the fact that I kind of did several things before I really kind of landed fully where I'm at now in the tech and digital marketing and sales spaces. So first off, went into college, originally was going to be a business major, broke my collarbone playing football senior year and thought, hey, I got to experience a little bit of the orthopedic stuff and thought, hey, maybe I want to go to med school and be an orthopedic surgeon. Quickly realized that was not the path for me, and kind of went back to business and, dropped out of college for a little while, tried to get into the military, and that clavicle break prevented me from doing that at the time. And so kind of came back and was working in a pharmacy, thought, hey, medical didn't quite work out. Let's go the kind of pharmaceutical route, and there's a lot you can do with that. And quickly found out that a lot of the undergraduate paths and classes to that were very, very similar to medical school. And just, really was kind of trying to find different paths. I knew I wanted to own my own business in some sense or capacity. I knew I wanted to have that, freedom and opportunity to innovate and create, do different things. And Ended up double majoring in history and political science. Thought, hey, I'll go to law school. I'll get a law degree, and I can use that to my advantage as a business person. So finished undergraduate and was really trying to make some decisions on kind of the next step. And I said, hey, let me give it a year. Let me do a few different things and see how that goes before I commit to, at least 3 more years of school. And, it's going to run about $100,000 at least. And so was doing stuff in the tech and digital marketing space, working for myself, and got working with a few different restaurants. And I don't know if you can tell, I kind of conveniently have the camera pointed up, but love to eat here again, from the South, from Arkansas, and was doing a lot in the restaurant space, and actually had an opportunity to go to work for one of the largest restaurant food delivery platforms apps in the United States, because I was doing some restaurant consulting, and really, really enjoyed that. So I was, signing up new restaurants, really helping folks reach new customers. And again, kind of that wave was really ramping up there in kind of 2017, 2018 of food delivery, having the convenience in this on-demand economy to push a button and get food, drinks, whatever the case was.
Food delivery has really blown up this year.
Well,
I think
especially
this
during
is
the pandemic.
year.
Yep.
Right. I mean,
Absolutely.
we've always had, I think what people have to recognize, we've always had delivery. I remember growing up and seeing the Domino's commercials, not a sponsor.
Chinese and pizza.
Right. 30 minutes for the pizza, coming to the house. And, or ordering Chinese food or whatever it may be. Oh, man, now I'm getting hungry for Chinese.
Yeah, I'm doing this before dinner. So, you may really get me hungry here.
But now it's evolved to where, instead of having 50 different apps for every single restaurant on your phone, you have 1 or 2 or 3 different apps that have all the restaurants there, and you just order through there, and that company brings, that's really taken off and evolved, I think, now.
No, absolutely. And especially during the pandemic. So about 2 years ago, I left my position there. The company I was working for got bought out. Without kind of getting too much and going down that rabbit hole, there were some internal issues and different things. And so I left and went back full time with my tech and marketing agency, which I had been doing on the side since college. And, they were experiencing some problems, with the delivery company, but now they've ramped up. They at one point had shut down about 1/3 of their markets, and I think they've captured all of that back and plus more. So, it's as crazy as the pandemic's been, as unfortunate in some instances, it's presented a great time of opportunity for tech in the marketing world. And I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit. But about 18 months ago, I went back full time with my tech and marketing agency. And, we were really, really expanding, doing a lot of different things, and it picked up a lot of work and surprisingly a lot of different industries and niches. And, kind of felt the effects of COVID, I think a little bit before a lot of people did in the US. We were doing some e-commerce retail stuff, and people were trying to source and ship product from overseas. And kind of at the beginning of the year, they started to have those kind of initial hiccups. And we were kind of hearing about, okay, what is this COVID stuff? Okay, is it overseas? And we were seeing that play out. And then my wife, she's a dental hygienist, so we did stuff in the dental and oral health space, advertising, marketing, some websites, some tech products and softwares. And as COVID fully made landfall in the U.S., that stuff got shut down as far as a lot of things, obviously. But that elective or selective healthcare, unless you had an emergent dental issue, people weren't going to get, their teeth polished. They weren't going to get, braces tweaked. And so we really had to make a pivot. And so thankfully, we already had some joint ventures where we were working with people who offered services different than ours. And we were helping close those deals and, recruit and retain different clients for both of our joint venture opportunities. And so we were already doing some of this closing. And with COVID fully making an impact, we needed to make a little bit of a transition because a lot of people, it didn't matter really what industry or niche you were in originally, they were originally impacted and kind of had a halt. So we really had to figure out, hey, how do we make a shift? And we shifted into the consulting side, focused on sales, and really ramped that up now to working with over 50 companies in 6 out of the 7 continents. So if anyone's listening and they're in Antarctica, I'd love to work with you because then we could check that box of having 7 out of 7. But doing quite a bit there in tech and marketing and really helping folks close deals and obviously increase their sales and grow and really ride the opportunity that COVID has presented for the tech and digital marketing spaces.
Yeah, a lot of people think about this negatively, but it has created a opening for businesses right now. It like this whole tech digital marketing space is really blowing up, but it's all about doing things the right way.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So what is the right way with COVID, the social issues going around with the country,
Right.
everything combining into this hot kettle right now. I mean, how have you had to change things because of that?
Absolutely. Well, first thing I would say is exposure online is at an all-time high. We already had, as we go day to day, pandemic aside, we already had more people hopping online than ever before. So you had that,
Right.
but with COVID, with the social things going on, with an election, with different things happening around the world, you have people even more glued to their phone. They're spending more time online than ever before, and more people are online than ever before.
Work from home.
Exactly. They don't have a boss looking over their shoulder. They can be on Facebook. They can be shopping and contributing to Jeff Bezos being the world's first trillionaire, whatever the case is there. So a lot of opportunity there. So first, I would encourage people, they need to be online in some form or fashion. Obviously, that looks very, very different for people, depending upon what industry, what niche they're in, what their budget, what their capacity is in. But you'd be surprised, folks that we had pitched a website to 2 or 3 years ago had reached back out to us and said, hey, we need to be on there now. We recognize we can't get customers in the door, whether that's a clothing store, a retail store, whether that's a restaurant. We still have a very heavy foot in the restaurant space as a result of previous work we've done. And they recognize that, hey, we need to have an opportunity to have the ability for customers to order online, to buy gift cards online. We need a way to communicate with our customers. So, we really encourage people, it's free to have a Facebook page. It's free to go on there and post your hours, post your changes, post what precautions you're taking against COVID, how you're keeping your customers safe. Again, no matter what industry you're in. So really pushing people out there to, where your customer base is at, where your existing base is at, where your potential, for more customers is at. They're online. So you need to have something out there to reach those people, to attract those people, and to get them to do business with you, whether, again, no matter what industry or niche you're in.
Are there still businesses out there that don't have Facebook pages or those free listings?
Yep. You would be very, very surprised. The people we speak to that don't have a Facebook page, again, for your viewers who may not know, it's free. Google My Business listings, having information out there readily available. And Google's had some issues during the pandemic with some of their Google My Business stuff. But just folks that aren't tapping into the gold mine that we like to say that's available online by just having basic contact info, hours, phone numbers, emails, address, changes, whatever the case is. We talk to people who have, large successful companies that don't. Maybe the business owner is a little bit older and it has kind of resisted that change. Maybe it's somebody who, they had changes or different stuff with personnel, or maybe their, tech savviness or abilities different than others, whatever the case is. We've talked to people. It's not just a one man kind of locally owned shop or a huge conglomerate of a business. We've seen stuff at every end of the spectrum that they're not tapping into just basic stuff, basic opportunities to reach customers and have a presence online. And everyone, no matter what business, industry, niche you're in, you need to have some form of online presence.
So let's talk a little bit about how to sell. I mean, what do you have to say as far as like the tonality and the confidence about all that stuff? How has it changed because of the pandemic?
Sure. Well, first thing, tonality and confidence, it looks a little bit differently as things have changed with the pandemic. Now you're moving towards more remote sales, obviously on the phone, on Zoom, doing different things versus meeting in person, sitting down in front of somebody. But regardless, whether you're in person, over the phone, on video like we are right now, or you can see me, you can see my expressions, you can see how I'm reacting and projecting different things specifically. Tonality and confidence is very, very vital. Being able to come on there, if I got on the Zoom here, if I got on the interview and I talked really low and, I kind of mumbled and I kind of looked around, obviously you're probably not going to be wanting to kind of buy into what I'm offering, even if it was the greatest thing in the world, right? If I'm selling you Bitcoin at a cent of Bitcoin or something crazy. So being able to come on there.
I just want to back that up real quick. I don't know if you saw, but on Thanksgiving Day, we had an episode that came out that was with Cynthia Jai. And she's an actual executive voice coach. And it was an episode just dedicated to your voice and how you're speaking. Because look, I run the whole Northeast region for Vision 33. We do ERP for small to mid-sized businesses. And a lot of times, like my consulting team, the people who do the dirty tech work of the implementation, they're not sales professionals. They're not, experienced managers. They're usually a little bit more, back. And they'll go out there and sometimes they'll answer a question to a client correctly, but they say it wishy-washy. You know, they don't
Sure.
say it with confidence, and then
Certainty,
the customer
absolutely.
blows up. The
Sure.
customer blows up because it sounds like the consultant doesn't know what they're talking about,
Right.
when in reality they're absolutely right, but it's how
Sure.
they said it, not
Right.
what they said.
Absolutely. I mean, coming in, that energy, enthusiasm, that tonality, that confidence, that makes all the difference in the world. I mean, I've seen products be, less of a product, offer less, have less value, cost more. And I've seen people be able to push it and sell it because of their conviction, because they have that energy, that enthusiasm. So that's something that we really work, with our internal sales team on. That's something that we work with our clients on. The B2C type stuff when they're selling and we're helping them sell,
Right.
Business to customer, really working through that. Because confidence, if you have confidence, if you have energy, you can come on, whether you're in person, on the phone, on Zoom, whatever the case is, and you could sell literally a bucket of crap. People buy it. It's called fertilizer. And so being able to come on there and present the value, have that energy, have that enthusiasm, you're going to make sales, you're going to be successful, and you're going to push out, a lot of opportunity for yourself, your company, and your product.
I'm sorry, man. That cracked me up. That was good.
Sure.
I am stealing that line in the future. Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's the
Sure.
cost of coming on Bite Biz.
Hey.
I reuse the good catch lines.
Good.
Selling a bucket of crap is fertilizer. There you go.
Yeah, people buy it.
So
In droves.
let's talk about how to sell online, selling differences, with COVID, as far as the selling remotely versus selling or meeting in person, because this is something that you were just touching on. And I guess I'll use myself as an example with my main day job. Just said it's ERP with SAP Business One. And oftentimes, I mean, we can get small contracts that are 25,000 or 30 or 40,000. Most customers are going to be 75 to 125,000. And even out of that, that's low for a lot of customers now too. I mean, it's mostly going to be 150, 250. I mean, it can scale up to millions depending the size of the business. I mean, we can, depending how they use it, we can service anybody from 2 million in revenue up to $1 billion. It all comes down to how you're using the system, how many users, and stuff like that. So obviously, maybe the software itself only costs 50,000, and then you have 100,000 implementation, let's say. Most people want the warm and fuzzies. They want to know that they're just not being told yes, 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 yes to all their questions, when in reality it is no, 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 and maybe. And you've got to give that warm and fuzzies. And traditionally in this old school business, I mean, you're doing things in person. Now we have been digitally transformed to where we are doing this, fully remotely. I mean, we just sold a huge multi-million-dollar project. Wasn't in my region, unfortunately. It was in the central, which includes your state of Arkansas. But
beautiful.
a huge client, multi-million dollars, deal that was all done remotely. So we're seeing success with it. But I want to hear from you, like the situation that I'm talking about, doing things remotely like that. What do salespeople, managers, directors, executives need to keep in mind when they're pitching remotely through the webinar? Sure,
absolutely. So first, you just mentioned it. It's getting something visual based in my experience. So, having an intro or having a qualification discovery call, via a regular phone call is fine. But when you're really getting into the nitty gritty, when you're really going to close, when you're asking for the sale, you need to have some type of visual. And so, having a pitch deck, slide deck, webinar, whatever the case is, having something that a client can look at together, and then you can talk about it out loud. So you have something that they're looking at, and then you're having a conversation about it, whether that's, data, testimonials, results, breaking down step by step, but you want to walk them through the process visually. You don't want to assume they know what you're talking about just because, maybe they've done something in the past with a different company. You never know what they've laid eyes on. You never know what they've bought into. You never know that level of experience and understanding. So being able to show that to them visually, one, that's going to help you overcome objections, because that's going to negate some, right off the bat. That's going to take some off the table. That's going to help, eliminate questions, eliminate doubt, uncertainty of, I'm not sure, they're trying to...
I call that defensive selling, because you're setting up the defense before, you're
Right.
positioning yourself before it comes an issue. That way you've already crossed that hurdle and it's not becoming a bigger issue down the road.
Sure. No, absolutely. And, when you do a lot of the same sales calls in different industries and stuff, a lot of the stuff we do, I mean, we've heard, several things multiple times. You know what people are going to say for the most part. Maybe some salespeople don't. But as you can get into your groove, you want to set yourself up exactly like you're talking about. You want to take those off the table and put yourself in a better position. You're more advanced, you're more forward, you're past that, and you've worked that into your pitch in a way that you've covered it, you've earned their confidence, you've earned that trust, you've moved past it without them really having to, again, have that doubt, have that uncertainty creep in their mind. They're asking questions. They're getting a little doubtful on that. And you've alleviated that by really rolling through that. So go ahead.
Visually speaking. Okay.
Sure.
I think this is important. This is what I've stressed with my sales team, that when you're on a call, client facing call, also internally too, but especially client facing. Okay, because we're using Microsoft Teams for everything we do.
Oh, yeah.
You need to have your webcam on. Even if the client doesn't have their camera on, they're just on there with voice. They're still sitting at their computer. They're still able to look at you. And them seeing your face when you answer those questions is what's going to give them the warm and fuzzies to whether you are BSing them or you're telling them the truth. Is that an accurate statement, you think?
1,000%. And that's something that we've really pushed, again, not only our internal sales team, but our clients. Get comfortable on camera. They need to practice that, because kind of before, especially before the COVID and the pandemic, a lot of folks, we were used to traditional phone calls or meeting in person. And then we get on the camera and maybe, the lighting's not, quite right, or, you have to adjust things, but it's getting comfortable with that. So whether you're, again,
how's my lighting?
Your lighting's great. I need to work on mine a little bit here. We just moved.
1, 2, 3, 4. I got 5 lights here on me.
Yeah, I see one reflecting there and your pictures there. We just moved. I'm still trying to get my home office set up here. So got to work on mine a little bit there. But being able to have that, composure from being on camera is very vital, like you're talking about. But then absolutely, again, going back to that confidence, going back to that tonality, that certainty, allowing them to see you, right? They know that, they can put a face with a name there. They can hear you. They can see it on your face. And again, if you're selling in the right way, and you're doing what you need to be doing on that front, that's going to shine through. And that's going to hopefully, if you practice, and again, you're doing things the right way, work in your favor. Yeah. And they want to have the warm and fuzzy. They want to see you. They want to, watch you flip through that, whether I'm just looking at the screen, clicking through, whether I'm, looking directly at you, whatever the case is.
They want to make sure when you're saying, yes, sir, we can do that you're not also rolling your eyes like, oh my God, yes, sir, we can do that. That's what they want to see. Sure. It reinforces that. And that's why, my team would probably say maybe I'm a little bit anal about it, but I view my team, when you get up to the level where we're at, we're all dire professionals. We're all experienced. My sales rep, my top guy, is probably double my age. We have a lot of respect for each other. It goes both ways,
Right.
And it comes down to, I give him a very, very long leash because of the respect I have for him. He's accountable, all that stuff.
Trust.
But, with him being so old school, he doesn't like to turn on the camera. And it's something I ride him on, because I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, this is critical right now. Just turn the camera on. I'm going to call you out on every meeting until you just do it naturally. And slowly but surely, he's adopting. And I think things are going way better for him now.
Good. No, absolutely. And I'm sure if you looked at the data beforehand and then after him really getting on camera, getting confident, rolling through that, I'm sure you might see at least a slight difference there in kind of performance and some of those KPIs and different things. So it's very valuable. Definitely. I'm glad you're pushing your team to do it. I know, again, that we're doing it internally and really working with our clients on that and having them get used to that. And they're having to do things differently. We do a lot of sales, but we also do a lot of consulting around kind of tech, marketing, sales in general. And so really working with people to get hardware set up, to get them kind of trained up on it so they know how to, navigate Microsoft Teams, Zoom, how to troubleshoot a little bit of things if they're getting ready to go into a meeting. And guess what? They're stuck in the waiting room, or they have a client stuck in the waiting room. And they're like, how do I adjust this? Because Zoom, has made some updates, and they've really had to ramp up with this increased capacity, especially, during COVID. And they've pushed out some updates, have some bugs, some security issues. And so there's been some kind of, technical challenges around that, but really working with people to get familiar with, hey, we're having to change up. We can't go sit down. We can't have a cup of coffee. We can't go out in a boardroom, but people still want to look another individual in the eye and have that trust and have that confidence like you're talking about. And so folks need to be, prepared and composed enough to do that consistently across video.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So let's pivot a little bit. You have your ABC sales team. First off, I just want to ask before I get to the question, but ABC, I assume, always be closing?
That is correct.
Oh,
Glenn Ross, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm on fire today.
Yep,
okay, so you have your always be closing ABC sales team at VanTech. Okay, what are their 3 pillars when they are selling?
Absolutely. So our 3 pillars, really, when we're selling, we're essentially everyone that we have hopping on the phone. They're essentially technical sales engineers. They actually understand the tech, the marketing, the back end of what they're selling, dependent upon, what specific service or product. So they're able to sell.
That's first. I just want to jump in there. That's extremely critical because when I decided to go to school, I went later in life. I went to Penn State. Naturally, everybody's like, well, you should go for a business degree. I said, no, I'm not going for business. I went for information sciences and technology, IST for short. Sure. Why? Because I was already a techie. I already knew most of the stuff they were teaching me, but it gave me a deeper knowledge of the tech so that I could learn a little bit more of the formality of the inner workings. And then from there, I also got business courses that I took as well, too. And I'm natural at sales, so it kind of all molded together. And that's how I ended up in ERP, running the Northeast region here. But that is extremely valid, I think, what you're saying, because I think there's a natural ability to be able to sell in a lot of people that you either have it or you don't. And I think that's the difference between a all-star performer and mediocrity. And if you have someone that's a natural sales talent that just needs coaching and development, you mix that with the technical degree. I mean, that's like unleashing a monster.
Sure. Right. It's a life hack. It's a superpower. And that's something we really stress because business and sales, a lot of that, like you mentioned, some of that's natural and some of that's just getting out there and really running it through. But having an actual technical back end, having training, having an understanding is going to help you very much. And again, it goes back to confidence. I know what we sell. I know how it operates. I know I can keep it as surface level as possible. I can break it down as detailed as possible because the clients that we speak to a lot of the times when we're selling B2B, these folks, no matter if they're a realtor, they're a doctor, they're a roofing, they're in home services, they get hit up and sold a service all day, every day, whether that's, website, whether that's SEO, whether that's lead generation, whether that's somebody selling them a business card, or you need to buy our kids, T-ball, sponsorship on the back or whatever the case is. And so a lot of these people, they've tried, especially in the tech and digital marketing world, as we are here at the end of 2020, getting ready to go into a new year, most people have tried an online service. So they're going to have some questions that you as a salesperson better be prepared to answer. And if you're just reading off a script, if you just have a very base level of knowledge, you're not going to be able to address that in a way that they need to hear it with confidence and certainty. So it's very, very valuable for us to have that. And so we ensure that everyone we have getting on the phone has experience. They actually understand what it is, that they're selling, and they can convey that properly to the client. As far as our 3 pillars, because of that confidence, because of really being able to understand that, we're able to sell very conversationally. So we really want to allow people to dig deep, allow people to open up. And you'd be surprised when you do that and really kind of ask them some guiding questions that we call 3 pillars, how they tee up the sell for you. They tell you the pain points, you play doctor and push on them. But our 3 pillars are very, very simple. When we get on these sales calls, we want to farm out really 3 things. 1, how are things currently going for you and your business? We call that, where are you currently at? Talking with them, running through the changes with COVID, kind of like we had our conversation. Number 2, what are they currently doing to marketing, advertise? And, or what have they, done in the past? We really want to, really get them speaking on that because we know how to, sell based on what they say. If they say, hey, I've done the lead generation thing before, I didn't get quality leads, and how, you need to sell and how you need to frame that sell specifically for selling lead generation or whatever the case is. So number 2, what have they currently done to market or advertise, or what are they doing currently? And then number 3, we really want to talk to them about the future. Where are they looking to go? So getting them to open up, again, no matter what service or product they're selling, and say, okay, hey, are you trying to get X amount of revenue, X amount of clients in front of X amount of leads, grow your business to a certain number of employees, expand, whatever the case is. They get them talking about the future, one, because it puts them, again, in a great, buying psychology, puts them in a good mood. They're talking about the future, their goals. You're able to, really utilize that when selling, when closing especially, but really getting a feel for where they're at so you know how to sell. And again, you'd be surprised. Most of the people that get contacted, we're having these conversations with them. They talk about these previous contacts they've had with people selling, the exact same service or offering we are, but they get on the phone and they sell, buy or die type mentality. They don't even listen. So when you get on the phone, you're asking the client questions, they're providing answers, and you're directly bringing a solution to the problem, to the issue, to the question they're having. Your success likelihood is a lot greater, and it's just an entire better and different conversation.
Oh, yeah. So I have a couple questions that came out of that. If you could just lightning round quickly so we can get to some other areas. First off, technical sales, okay? The way that we do it at Vision 33, I like it because the sales rep has general knowledge. They don't have the granular knowledge. Some know a little bit more granular just from experience than others, but it's general knowledge. Their job as the sales rep is to build the relationship, manage a sales cycle, because you may need partners, third parties, you may need like our support department head to jump in a call, or our cloud hosting head to jump in a call, or somebody like that, a developer, whatever. And your job is to manage that sales cycle. Say this, don't say that. Okay. Do this, not that. And you're managing the sales cycle. But as far as the technical salesperson, we have our own dedicated pre-sales, because you want them to not be the salesy person, because you want them to be the trusted advisor. And, because, that's just a sales guy, you know what I mean? Whereas
what
the pre-sales guy says, So, I mean, what do you think as that? I mean, where would you draw the line between those two in that type of situation?
Sure. So for us, that person's one and the same. Most of the closings we have, come from a 2-call close where we're doing most of the time it's a regular phone call for that kind of intro qualifying call. We get on there, it's about 15 minutes. That's really where we farm out those 3 pillars. And so you're able to achieve what you're talking about with one person by having them really, they don't get technical. They don't really sell. You're seeing where the client's at. You're seeing, okay, are they going to be a good fit? Whether we're selling for ourselves, whether we're selling on behalf of a client, closing on behalf of a client, really able to have more of a conversation. It goes back to not getting on the phone and going, buy or die, sell, really allowing that person to talk. You build that trust, you build that rapport, you build that relationship, and you save all the selling, all the closing for call number 2, which is when, most of the time, 99.9% of the time we're hopping on a Zoom call, we're hopping on a Microsoft Teams call and rolling through a pitch deck, having that visual. But you save the selling for that point, but you have that initial conversation not be salesy, clammy, scammy, whatever the case is. Again, so you achieve the, trust building aspect. You don't have them coming on there and say, oh, well, that's just a salesperson. No, that's Branson. He was actually asking me what's going on with my business, what's going well, what's going bad, and talking about how we can help. We frame it to our people as you're sitting down at a bar, you're sitting down at a restaurant with somebody, you're meeting them, and you're both talking about what you do for a living. It's very casual, very conversational. And we, achieve that rapport, that trust by doing that initially, and then having, the second call where we go into detail and really ask for the sell and close.
I mean, so what you're doing there is like what we would refer with our industry as the discovery process. The discovery, the scoping, and we usually do kind of, like 2 levels of scoping, for example, because usually the first one's just a basic qualifying call, I guess you could say, to where we're, just making sure that it's a general fit. And then the second call that we have is going to be the deep dive where we get really granular to figure things out. But ultimately, I mean, we try to figure out like, hey, What's your major paid points? What's the top
Right.
3 items that you have? And then what we also do is we portray it as we're a growth partnership for you. Our job is to help you to grow into where you want to be in the future. Why? I mean, I'm not BSing you with it. There's an actual reason. Because if I help you grow, guess what? You're going to buy more licenses off me. You're going to need
grow
more
in return.
services from me.
Sure.
Right. So it's in my benefit to help you grow. And that's really the
100%.
way that we kind of position it. I mean, how do you view that fitting in? It sounds
No,
pretty
absolutely.
similar to what you're doing.
It's exactly very, very similar. Again, going back to building that rapport, that trust, really helping them understand that, when you have that mentality, when you come on the phone or you come on the Zoom, whatever the case is, and you're diving deep, you're listening to what they say, you're coming out of the aspect of you're seeing if you can sell, if you can help them. You're talking about how you want to help them, but you're also presenting it from a case of, hey, we may get to the end of this call and figure out we're not the best fit. We talk about we have a great network, the people that we can refer if they're needing something else, but we're not going to come on the call and cram, a square peg into a round hole, whatever the case is. We really want to present a valued-filled solution to somebody. I mean, we've gotten on the phone call or a Zoom call before, and we've talked to somebody in one case, and they came on. We were talking to them about digital marketing, different things, and reality was they wanted to come on and they wanted to actually write a book. They wanted to offer a course offering. They wanted to do something, kind of totally different than what we were coming for, and we were able to help get them plugged up because of that, because we actually listened and we realized that, hey, they see the value in that. That builds trust. You're not going on there just to sell at, no expense, all out, war there to actually sell them and get them as a client. You're trying to figure out what it is they actually need and help them achieve that, whether that's with you, whether that's with a referral partner, or whether that's just giving them a little bit of advice, a little bit of a kind of a free consultation session there. And then, both kind of, go in your separate ways, but being able to have that mindset instead of, buy or die, sell, builds that exactly how you're talking about and allows you to transition into diving in further detail.
Okay. No, that's great. So let's get into, I got a couple more questions for you.
Sure.
This is so good. I'm letting this go on a little bit longer, but it's intriguing. I love talking about this stuff. And I've got to tell you, man, if you didn't tell me that you were 25 with how it's extremely well polished. Like you really know your stuff that has taken me, for example, most of my life to learn through trial and error and experience. You already have that, ground into, and it's amazing. And, hearing, pinging your mind and hearing you say a lot of these things. I mean, it also validates what I'm doing. I do this podcast for personal growth because I wanted to grow as an individual and, bring the fans and the audience on a ride with me. So to hear, someone like you that does this day in, day out, validate a lot of the ways that I do things with my sales teams, it feels good. You're giving me the warm and fuzzies, Branson.
Absolutely. Well, same to you. You're building me up, and I appreciate the compliments and happy to be here and dive into it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's try to do some rapid, quick lightning round discussions.
Yeah.
What is the biggest selling mistake?
I think biggest selling mistake, like I've mentioned, is people get on there and they don't listen. Really, when you're coming on there, especially initially, whether that's, the intro discovery call or that's the beginning of a sales conversation, they get on there and they don't allow the client to speak. And they literally miss the client giving them the pain points that they can turn around and use as leverage to actually sell them. So you need to allow the client to speak. You need to listen and form your approach, form your sell conversation accordingly.
Sales reps talk too much. They also they often talk themselves out of deals. A great woman I know with SAP. Her name is Laura Honeycutt. She has an amazing career. Really helped me when I first got in doing with what we're doing. Taught me a lot of good stuff. And she has always told me the biggest piece of advice that she got when she started doing sales was, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and you need to use those proportionately.
Right. Yeah, I've heard that analogy many times.
3 items, you use the mouth 1/3 of the time, and you listen 2/3.
Listening. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the biggest mistakes I see in a lot of people. So, and I think that kind of follows into the next question is, if you're letting them talk mostly and you're not doing the talking, I think, well, I mean, you talk enough, but you're doing more listening than talking. Let me rephrase that. I think that lets people kind of sell themselves to you. How do you think about that?
You nailed it 100%. I mean, again, asking them questions, allowing them to talk. People, they want to get excited, and people love to talk about themselves. So, when we're talking and we're asking them questions, we're allowing them to talk about their story, their business, their goals, where they're at, what they've done, what they've overcome. They're building that up, and that momentum is building and building and building the further you allow them to talk. And again, you're steering the conversation. We're not getting on there and interviewing them, right? But you're steering the conversation. You're setting expectations and rolling through that. But allowing people to talk builds that momentum. It allows them to literally tee up, the exact pain points, issues, expectations, what they're trying to get out of something, and you're able to directly appeal to that and sell because of that. So allowing people, if we as salespeople can get out of our own way, if you can be quiet a little bit, use the 1/3 talk, 2/3 listen mentality, even a little bit greater, is what we kind of train our people on. Really allow people to dig deep and speak. They sell themselves, and you're able to come in. They feel like, hey, Branson listened. He provided a direct solution to my problems or what I'm really seeking. And that builds, again, confidence. That, turns people into testimonials, referrals, whatever the case is, because they feel like you actually listen to them and you actually help them solve a problem or, plug a hole, fill a gap that they're seeing in their business.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, no, great advice right there. Awesome stuff. So what about, I think the hardest thing is, because it's almost like, rolling the dice at a craps table, is how do you find and hire good salespeople? For me, for our company, it's always been a struggle. In fact, with ERP in general, about 1 in every 6 salespeople will actually generate a profit for their company. I mean, that's how tough it's been. I mean, what's your advice with that for companies out there?
Absolutely. So it looks a little bit different depending upon kind of what industry and kind of niche you're in. But as a few general rules, one, you need to have a great network of people you can pull from. We've been very, very fortunate. When I talk about everyone on our, ABC sales team at VanTech having that technical experience, is because we have a great network and we've been able to pull from actually people who were, maybe had their own businesses or worked for a company. And when COVID happened, maybe their company kind of went under, lost revenue, whether that was their own or they were working for a company. So we've been able to pull off that because we have a great network, being able to put out information, put out, applications, put out opportunities for work and get responses back to that because of that. So you need to have a great network you can tap into, whether that's, plethora of resources online, Facebook groups, LinkedIn's, done quite a bit to ramp up their space. So having a pool that you can pull from, so you're not dependent upon, one narrow opportunities, for people to come in, having a good network you can pull from, and then actually getting on the phone and talking to them, not relying on someone filling out, typing questions, submitting it, and then you're putting people in the process further down the line based on their credentials, previous experience. We found that it really doesn't. Certain, again, technical things help, experience helps. People that have, done door-to-door sales, they've, had shotguns pointed at them, been cussed out, different things certainly helps. And we love to speak to door-to-door people, but really getting on the phone, getting on Zooms, having, mock conversations, having demos, really allowing people's personalities to shine. If they can just bring energy, if they can bring enthusiasm, if they have the right attitude, if they're driven, they're hungry, you can set up and teach them how to sell. And so really not being stuck to one way or another. We've really worked with people to not get stuck or lost on credentials of, oh, well, they haven't done this or they've done this or they worked in a different industry. If we can get on the phone, if we get in person, get on a Zoom, see that energy, to me, that's the biggest thing is if I can get on there and see someone's energy and enthusiasm, I know that we can mold them if they're driven enough and they line up in a few other areas. But having somebody that has that energy, has that enthusiasm, and has some type of technical understanding or the ability or the motivation to learn and learn very quickly, like we talked about, I think that makes a great salesperson. And so you need to have a great network of people you can pull from. You need to utilize what's available online, different groups, different communities, resources, and look for people that actually want to grow, who are actually hungry and motivated and have great energy and enthusiasm.
Yeah, I mean, I essentially look for 3 things in a sales rep. Now, we're a very niche industry. I don't like hiring sales reps from competitors because it's a very transient industry. People just go to one company. They're there for
Right.
a year. They don't sell or they barely
Uh-huh.
sell. They get fired. They go to the next company,
Sure.
write it out for a year, next company. And the train just keeps going like that. And I came from outside the industry, and that's why I know it can be done. I know
Right.
that it can be successful the way
Sure.
that I think, because I'm proof of that. But first is you have to know how to manage a sales cycle. Okay.
Right.
Just like we were speaking earlier, you have to be able to manage that. And I want to hear how you would manage it in an ERP sales cycle. Number two is you do have to have some technical understanding. You have to know the fundamentals of how things generally work, the details, the software, the implementation styles. That stuff will come to you on time, but you got to be able to speak of things at a high level and understand that digital world. And then number three, I think, comes down to personal branding. What are you doing to create your own brand, to create your own name, to get your profile out there, more exposure? Because I can guarantee if they're not out there doing things like doing my own podcast, for example, like what I'm doing, you don't have to be doing a podcast, but if you're not out there in groups, trying to brand your own name, I can probably guarantee that you're not going to do a lot of networking and create your own opportunities, your own pipelines with us, because they're just not going to appear out of thin air.
Right. If they're not looking for an opportunity or opportunities, really, rather to better themselves as an individual, most likely they're not going to do it underneath a company label, unless, there's incentives or different things. But for the most part, again, kind of goes back to the ambition, the hungriness, looking for folks that actually have that. A lot of that, I think, can be either learned, some of that's, innate, but really looking for people that are hungry and that want to grow. They want to learn. They want to better themselves. And you can see that shine through in a variety of different ways. And it comes through on those calls, and it comes through in sales, success. I truly believe that.
By the way, for all our viewers and listeners out there, I will be looking for a sales rep, looking for one with an accounting background to start around early January. So anybody, SaaS, ERP, accounting background, David at sharkbitebiz.com. Sorry, I had to do my own plug there. I just realized that.
Hey, that's awesome.
So money math. Explain to me very, very quickly, because this we're running really late on this podcast. What is money math? That really caught my attention.
Absolutely. Money math. Everyone needs to know their money math. One of my very first mentors said, everything in life's a math equation. And when I first heard that, I'm like, man, it's kind of a simplified way of looking at the world. But the more I got into business and different things, the more that rings true more than ever. So money math, especially as a salesperson, it's being able to really boil down and deduce, how many interactions, starting from the beginning that you need to get to X. So whether you can reverse engineer it, forward engineer it by looking at, okay, if I do outreach, this many people are going to respond. From there, I'm going to have active and be able to reach X amount of people, active conversations. Of those people, I'll have one call with them, to two, and really being able to work through, being able to reverse engineer most of the time. How many people do we need to talk to, do outreach to, try to reach to get to X amount of sales, X amount of revenue, and being able to know it, learn it, live it, breathe it, and really be able to get it better, improve those conversion rates, improve that money math and percentages, and really break it down to that and get it consistent, get it predictable. And again, look to increase it and better those conversions and sales.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, I look at that with my general pipeline. I just didn't recognize the term money math. I like that. I am going to be coining that phrase as well, too.
Man,
So
that's two things. I need a license and trademarks and stuff.
Yeah. Too late, man. I already stole it.
Absolutely.
So, hey, last question for you, Branson. How can people reach out to you?
Absolutely. So a few different ways. One, you can find me on LinkedIn under my name. I know it'll be LinkedIn here because it's quite long, but Branson Vanlandingham on LinkedIn. Same thing on Twitter, bvan007. Instagram, Facebook, personal Facebook's Branson Vanlandingham. We have a personal page coming soon, and then we have our VanTech at VanTech online pages on Facebook, ABC Sales Team on Facebook, and then our website www.vantech.online. So several different ways to kind of reach us, keep up with us. Me, myself personally, a few different ways, and would love to interact with you and love to have you following our stuff. Certainly appreciate it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it looks like you're due for another headshot on the LinkedIn
Yeah.
profile page.
Yeah, I actually have some. I was hoping they would be done by the time we got on this interview. I know you'd be using one. I actually haven't cut my hair. I'm sure you can tell, and since March,
Yeah.
since COVID happened. So I've saved about $250 on haircut. So that's been nice, a little fun money there. But yeah, I need to update. That picture was last summer, so my hair has gotten a little crazier since then. But absolutely, have some coming soon.
It'll be perfect by the time this episode airs. I'm sure it'll be up. But
Sure.
I tell you what, looking at the picture there and looking at the log hair, the bigger beard, I think this look, especially with the open collar and the jacket, man, I love it. You're rocking, you're styling, man. Hey, Branson, thank you so much. This has been an incredible, informative episode, man.
Sure. David, thank you so much for having me. Enjoyed it. And look forward to following you and catching some more episodes. I appreciate you having me.
No problem. Thank you, man. Cheers.
Absolutely. Thank you. Good evening.
Yeah. It was a refreshing chat with Branson, right? A fantastic way to start off season 2 and 2021 with a bang. But before I forget, if you love this interview, do us a favor. Doesn't matter if you're on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcast, Audible, Amazon, Deezer, iHeartRadio, Podbean, wherever you are, whatever platform you're watching or listening on, do us a favor. Smash that subscribe button, smash that like button. Really help our channel grow and get to the next level in this business community of executives, owners, young entrepreneurs, people that are just trying to grow and get to the next level and learn something new each and every week. Now, if you really, really like this episode, then do a solid. Let's get Branson, let's get Bite Biz all trending on social media by you all sharing this interview now. So let's get back on topic, okay? This is a theme that we've heard a few times this past season. You'd be surprised at how many companies are not taking full advantage of the free tools that are available for them. Yeah, I'm talking Facebook pages, Yelp pages, Google search business pages. You should be taking full advantage of them and doing cool stuff like showing what your business is doing to keep customers and employees safe during the pandemic. I think what Branson said about sales reps speaking with authority, and by authority, he means the tonality and confidence in your voice is critical. Customers are judging you even more by how you speak and how you sound, and it really will allow you to build that personal relationship, even if you're doing so remotely, through phone calls, through digital webinar meetings like Zoom or Team. It will allow you to spark something, to move something forward, to give your prospect, your customer, your partner the warm and fuzzies that, hey, you know what? I like David. David's going to take care of me. Vision 33 is going to take care of me. Things like that. That's what you want to display to your customer, that end feeling of happiness and joy. I guess that's the best way to say it. Another great point of discussion was about listening. Listen to your customers and prospects. Allow them to talk about themselves. They'll talk themselves into buying from you most of the time. And more importantly, you will not talk yourself out of a sale. I mean, that's a big thing. A lot of salespeople forget about. They think, hey, if I just keep talking, they can't object. Well, that's not true. I mean, it comes by as annoying, and it's like, dude, I want to tell you what my problems are. And I've been there too. I'm a talker. I'm in business. I'm in sales, and it does take some constraint. And this goes back to something that we've said a few times last season as well too, is record yourself, record your calls to your clients and listen back, see how you speak, see how much you're speaking, listen again to what the client's saying and see, are you really listening real time? Are you comprehending what they want, what they need? And from there, you'll actually be able to achieve a lot of personal growth because you're going to be able to pick out what you did good and what you did bad. And by doing this, though, I mean, you're essentially going to start to really build personal relationships. And when you do that, then this is where it kind of goes into the money math that Branson was talking about. You're going to be improving drastically the percentages of performance to make revenue consistent and predictable. Business these days is all about consistent, predictable, recurring revenue. And you'll always have a nice nest egg on January 1st of each year to build a great foundation off of. You're not starting at zero once that clock hits January 1st. You're actually continuing where you left off. So yeah, this was a fun video with a lot of great conversation. What did you all think? Today's topic of discussion is how do you do your biz dev now that the pandemic is still in full force? What is your plan for 2021? Leave a comment in the discussion area below on YouTube and let's discuss. So do you want to be a guest in the show? Do you have an amazing business story you want to tell about how you, your clients, the people that you're working with, partners, whatever. Do you have a great business story or a personal growth story that you want to talk about? Shoot me an email, david@sharkbitebiz.com. And hey, remember everybody, I'm David Strausser. This is Shark Bite Biz, and we'll see you all again next episode. Ciao.
Thank you for listening to Shark Bite Biz. We hope you got some insightful info from this podcast. Be sure to subscribe to us through your favorite podcast app and visit us on the web at www.sharkbitebiz.com. How has business changed for you in the 20s? Email us at podcast@sharkbitebiz.com so you can join us and share your story.